Lord Jim is a renowned novel written by Joseph Conrad, a Polish-British author, which was initially published in Blackwood's magazine from 1899 to 1900. Considered a significant accomplishment in 20th-century fiction, the story is presented as a conversation between the narrator, who remains unnamed, and a sea captain named Charles Marlowe. Marlowe has spent years reflecting on his acquaintance, a sailor named Jim, whose life was overshadowed by the shame of a fateful decision to abandon his ship. Born to an English clergyman, Jim decides at a young age to pursue a career at sea. During his training, a glimpse of cowardice is revealed when he fails to assist a ship in distress during a storm. Trying to justify his inaction, he convinces himself that he was not afraid, but rather waiting for a more worthy challenge to prove his courage. Following a period of recovery from an injury, Jim serves as the first mate on the Patna, an aging iron tramp steamer carrying 800 devout pilgrims to a port on the Red Sea. A few days into the journey, the ship collides with debris. Upon inspecting the damage, Jim determines that the bulkhead is on the verge of collapsing, making it impossible to save all the passengers. Driven by a sense of duty, Jim wants to prioritize the safety of as many passengers as possible by launching the lifeboats. However, the captain and other crew members opt to save themselves, leaving the passengers to their fate. Jim, refusing to join the crew's abandonment, stays aboard until he notices an approaching storm. In a final moment of decision, he abandons ship and joins the captain in a lifeboat. Helplessly, they witness the Patna being battered by powerful waves, haunted by the imagined screams of the doomed passengers. Several days later, the crew is rescued by another steamer and brought to a port in the Far East. They agree on a fabricated story to cover their desertion, but their deception is exposed when the Patna, miraculously still afloat, is discovered by another ship and towed to port. After the desertion of the rest of the crew, Jim stands alone to face a magistrate's court trial. While acknowledging that he may have acted wrongly, he maintains that the line between right and wrong in the matter was incredibly thin. Captain Charles Marlowe attends the trial and is initially appalled by Jim's actions. However, as he observes Jim's overwhelming guilt and shame, he recognizes his own inner struggles, reflected in the tormented sailor. At the trial's conclusion, Jim is stripped of his naval certification, but Marlowe extends his support and helps him rebuild his life. However, every time Jim establishes a stable residence and decent employment, reminders of the Patna incident disrupt his equilibrium, leading him to disappear and start anew elsewhere. Marlowe shares Jim's story with his friend Herstein, who perceives Jim as a romantic figure and proposes that he take over his trading station in Patusan, an isolated island where the Patna incident is unknown, offering Jim the space and time to reconcile with himself. Marlowe relays Stein's offer to Jim, who accepts it without hesitation. Assuming control of the trading post in Patusan, Jim replaces the untrustworthy Cornelius and achieves remarkable success. He gains the trust of the local Bugis Malays by protecting them from the bandit Sheriff Ali and the corrupt local ruler, Raja Tunku Elang. During his endeavors, Jim forms close friendships with Doraemon, Stein's Malay companion, and Doraemon's son Dane Warris. The local people begin referring to him as Tuan Jim, meaning Lord Jim. Jim also falls in love with Jewel, a woman of mixed race from the tribe. When Marlowe visits Patusan, he finds Jim content, although the visit triggers a sense of unease in Jim, reminding him of his shameful past. Despite this, Jim has found a measure of happiness in Patusan and has begun to make peace with himself. During Jim's absence in the interior of the island, a notorious sea captain named Gentleman Brown arrives in Patusan with the intention of plundering the village of the Bugis Malays for supplies. Dane Warris leads a successful defense, trapping the pirates on a defensible hill. When Jim returns, Dane Warris advises that the trapped pirates be executed, but Jim chooses to negotiate with Brown. Exploiting Jim's guilt-ridden conscience, Brown manipulates him into granting safe passage. Jim assures Brown of safe passage downriver to the sea, and he pledges to the villagers that Brown's men will not harm them, offering his own life as a guarantee. Cornelius, who has been eagerly waiting for an opportunity to remove Jim and reclaim control of Stein's post, informs Brown about an alternate route through a side channel that bypasses the village's defenses. Taking advantage of this information, Brown ambushes the villagers, resulting in the death of Dane Warris and others, before making his escape. Horrified by the news of Dane Warris's demise, Jim is devastated. Jewel, his love interest, and his servant Ambadam urge him to flee or arm himself against the villagers seeking revenge. However, Jim chooses a different path and surrenders himself to Doorman, who, with a heavy heart, shoots Jim in the heart, allowing him to die with dignity. Touching on themes of colonialism, heroism, and the nature of evil, Lord Jim delves into the profound impact of guilt and shame. Alongside Conrad's other notable works like Heart of Darkness, 1899, and Nostromo, 1904, Lord Jim solidifies his position as one of the most influential novelists in the English language. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe. Thank you.